afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are in the world. So today we're on day 29, I'm on my last 3 days. Really enjoyed this process, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to these Facebook Lives. So what is today about? Today is about how to go from coffees to instructions. In other words, how to go from meeting lots of people, sitting around and having a great chat, to actually work coming out of that. In other words, how do you get work out of your network? And hopefully I'm going to pronounce this right. Hello, Tafidizwa. Was that pronounced right? Tafidizwa? Good to see you with us. Do let me know if I pronounced it correctly. If not, put the pronunciation down for me and I'll try again. So this is about how do you generate work from your network? How do you turn a contact into a regular user? What to aim for the first few meetings? Because this is what happens. Yeah, particularly if you're in a law firm and not very much an accountancy firm, particularly if you go corporate finance, business restructuring, you're told you've got to build your network. Yeah, good advice. Then you're told you've got to spend time with them regularly. Good advice. And then you're left a bit on your own from that point, and you're like, oh, what do I do now? And that's the thing. So you have more coffees, you have more lunches, and then you're left wondering, why is this not working? And then there's other things that you start wondering about, like particularly if you're new to maybe say deal making, and you're like, why won't people have lunches with me? So let me kind of explain it. So how let's think about how referral actually happens to start with. So you need 4 things. Number 1, you need an opportunity. You don't wake up and go, I need a lawyer, or I need to go bankrupt today. You just don't do that. So you need an opportunity. You need something that happens. So, it might be a conversation, it might be an event. The classic one is if somebody rings you up and go, I need a plumber. At that point, you're probably going to be recommending a plumber. But what happens before then? What happens before that opportunity is really so obvious, it hits you in the face? What happens before then? And the next thing is, let's start with the plumber. Someone rings you up and says, can you recommend a plumber? What are you going to say? The first thing that comes into your mind is, who do I know? And that's about visibility. So one of the things that you've got to be aware of, if you want to get your network to recommend you more often, you've got to be visible. So what are you doing on LinkedIn? One of the classic things I say to people is, put a list of your top 20, 30, 40, maybe even 50 top contacts. And at the beginning of the month, start working down the list in your odd 5 minutes with just sending them an email. Saw this, thought of you type stuff. Just little things. And, every time you've had a chat with them, tick them off the list. By the end of the month, you should have got down to the bottom of the list. And guess what? Next month, you start all over again. Now, you can do that via email, and that's a great discipline. That could be because you've met them face to face. Could be they've come event of yours. It could be that you've tweeted with them, that you've exchanged some stuff on Facebook. You've got to make sure by the end of the month, those top contacts know that you're around and have had a positive interaction with you. Now, that could be as little as a like on LinkedIn. It doesn't necessarily need to be something big. Next thing, let's go back to the plumber example. I need a plumber. So the first thing you think of, who do I know? Then, because your reputation's on the line, you then think, well, who's good? So the next thing is, and the thing is, when we're looking at good, what are we meaning? They've got a good reputation, and I know they're an expert in this. Now, if they've worked with you a lot, they'll know you've got a good reputation. Maybe your firm has got a good reputation. But let's think about it. If you're going to break an established referral relationship, you need to be fair. This has got to be something that they know is good for you. So let's look at, say, lawyers and litigation. You've got so many commercial litigators that are commercial litigators. And if they're in London, they tend to be financial service specialists. They also tend to be fraud and investigation specialists. Everyone does it. So you've got to help your network know when is the right time to put you in. So it might be financial services, maybe is it hedge funds. Now, I remember talking to somebody who was a private client accountant, and she did what all other private client specialists did. She worked with ultra high net wealth individuals to help them with secure their family future wealth type stuff. pretty much everything. But actually, she differentiated by herself. I tend to work with the really difficult ones. You know, the ones that everybody doesn't want to handle because they're either really spoilt, you know, that they tend to be sometimes unreasonable. Those are the ones that I get given because I'm known to be a really calm voice. And actually, can you see that that's you know, that starts to differentiate yourself. It doesn't necessarily need to be a sector. It doesn't necessarily need to be a size of business. It can be a type of person. It could be a business life cycle. There's lots of things, but you've got to put in their mind for credibility. When would you get it? What's the right one for you? I'm just thinking about one of our members on the other side of the Business Accountant Millionaires Club. He gets a lot of work because he's known as a QuickBooks specialist around Manchester. You know, he actually comes up the list, top on list for advisors in Manchester within a 25-mile radius. And that gets him a decent amount of work. Now, the next thing you need is goodwill. After all, you're never going to recommend somebody if you don't like them or if they've upset you. And, you know, I was talking with somebody today who works in a very volatile region of the world. And there's been some political disturbance in this region. So as a result, part of his business case just isn't there anymore. And it won't be for at least another 3, 6, 9 months, you know, and we have to thank America for doing what it's doing at the moment, for making his life a lot harder. And so he's had to literally pivot his business case. But because he's got some goodwill from some of another region that he's worked in, he's going straight back in there because he's got that goodwill. He's got that credibility. He's kept the visibility up. You never know when you might need that. So if you understand all of that, how do you then turn your contact into a regular introducer? Well, the first thing is we've got to make sure that they are in a position either now or as their career progresses to recommend us. And that's often what we don't do. We meet them because they're nice. And of course they're nice and all of that stuff. But what we're looking for is somebody that maybe if you're quite junior in your career, you're looking for someone a bit above you that by the time they get to a certain point, they could recommend you. We're looking for people that are able to and want to recommend you. So actually in that first meeting, you're getting to know them. You want to answer one question. Are they in a position to recommend me? And two, will they want to? Now, they might be in a position to recommend you, but they may have formal alliances with other people that means that you know, you're only going to get the scraps. You know, maybe there's a conflict of interest. And so in that first conversation, you're really wanting to understand, do I like you? And then is there a potential to work to flow between the two of us? Now, let's say you're a forensic accountant. You know, you're always going to be wanting to spend a lot of time with lawyers because they can send you work. It's very hard for you to send work back. So remember that sometimes you're going to have to find what value is to them if you can't send work back. Now, that doesn't mean to say that you're not going to be seen as very valuable. Because I know that I'm somebody that sends a lot of work out, doesn't necessarily get the work back. But actually knowing that I can put good people in that I trust is worth as much to me getting a referral back, because that helps me keep the client. So remember, it doesn't matter if you can't send work back. It's about, can you be valuable? So let's take the second meeting. Now, if you then have, you know, at the end of the first meeting, if you think that you've got to take a decision, is it worth me spending more of my relationship time? You know, if I'm going to spend more time with this person, who may I not spend time with because stuff's not happening? So this is really about, you know, you taking a decision. On the second meeting is one where you want to start to explore, how can we help each other? You know, and you might go, it's too early to recommend me, but what would need to happen for you to send me work? Definitely on that third meeting, you do want to be talking about what would need to happen. On the second meeting, you want to be exploring a lot deeper. What would an ideal client be like for you? How would I know when I'm meeting them? What sort of conversation and what sort of questions should I be asking to, you know, see if there is some work to be done there? Let's take the auditor example. It's really easy if someone turns around and says, we're going out to retender for our audit work. You know, there's an obvious referral there. But what happens if they haven't said that? What are the clues that they might be thinking about doing that? Such as, you know, our auditors have been in for a while and we're thinking about good governance, and are we getting to that point? Or we always find that our auditors never communicate that well with us, and they're always bashing up against the deadlines. Just some clues that they might be starting to think. And that's the point when you say, do you mind me asking if you're thinking of going to retender, or would you like to speak to someone in my network that can give you just an honest view of, is this happening, is this not happening? And actually, the more that you can start sending people referrals, the more the value you'll get back. I mentioned that I send a lot of referrals out to my network. I think I must have been the most popular person at Christmas. I got hampers galore. I got beautiful boxes with really nice stuff in. I think I must have been the luckiest person there. And I know that I'm going to spend a day in a spa tomorrow, and I suspect I'll be told, no, this is my treat as a thank you for the work you're sending us. This is, people do say thank you. And of course, that's another way. How do you get more work? Well, if somebody sends you work, you say thank you. You also keep them updated what's happening with that work and how it is going. So how do you turn that contact into a regular introducer? Well, it is about keeping the regular contact time. It is about being really helpful back. It is about when they send you work, telling them the update. And I talk about, you need a relationship plan to help somebody become a regular introducer. You can't just expect to leave them alone for 6 to 9 months and then always give you work. How are you keeping the dialogue going? So those are my tips for how do you go from coffees to instructions. Hopefully that's been useful for you. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about how to deal with professional jealousy from others. So say, for example, you get promoted, how to deal with that. See you tomorrow. Bye.